I am always in search of the next best hardware for a streaming, gaming, and content creation PC, but it is actually really hard these days with all of the price fluctuations, all of the scalpers, all of the AI data centers being built. How do you know if you're getting a PC that will work for you at a price that actually makes sense for the hardware? Here's to the PC market. I really hope that it gets better sometime soon. It has been an absolute mess for years now. If we could just have some normal prices for parts and everything for putting a computer together, I would be so appreciative. Cheers. I want to tell you a little bit about my personal PC right here. It is currently running an Intel i7-14700K and an NVIDIA RTX 4080 Super. If you want to follow along with the rest of the parts, I'll have the PC part picker linked down below. Let me actually just log into PC part picker here really quick so I can actually follow along too. So that CPU is set on the Asus ROG Strix Z790E Gaming Wi-Fi 2 motherboard. This is a pretty expensive motherboard, but I just want to throw it out there that I got it refurbished on Newegg's website. Definitely one of those things that I got a little bit less expensive, but when you are especially creating content, editing videos, streaming, doing some of those things, sometimes a little bit more expensive motherboard can pay off. One of the biggest ways that it can pay off is the amount of USB ports that they have on them. I don't think you can ever have enough USB ports on your motherboard. In this one as well, I've got 64 gigabytes of G.Skill DDR5 RAM. 64 gigabytes is probably not 100% necessary. Just one of those things that I got, again, on a pretty good deal. If you're streaming, gaming, content creating, for the most part, 32 gigabytes is absolutely plenty. But if you see a really good deal on 64, sometimes, you just got to go for that. And honestly, at this point in time, at this exact moment, if you are seeing a deal on 64 gigabytes of RAM, you might be more interested and inclined to do that because prices of RAM right now are really going up. So if you can find a deal on something, it might not be a bad idea to future-proof it a little bit so that in case over the next year or two or however many this price increase kind of lasts, you are not worried about upgrading at all. I also have a 2 terabyte Samsung 970 NVMe drive in there. 2 terabytes is the lowest I will ever personally be going in my computer ever again. If you are doing any type of video editing, those video files take up so much space. Not to mention if you're playing games at the same time, games also take up a crazy amount of space these days. You could probably get by with a terabyte of storage, especially now that I built a NAS and that's where I put most of my videos. You could probably get away with 1 terabyte, but man, it's just one of those things that you're never going to be disappointed that you got the extra space for the most part. So I went with a 2 terabyte drive in this specific build. On the back here, I've got a Cooler Master 750 watt power supply. Again, one of those things that works perfectly fine. You don't need any more than that. Typically, you're going to want to be looking at the graphics card that you're using, and is it going to be enough to power that? 750 watts is pretty solid and will run most computers. Just check out what your graphics card is recommended to be using and go with something like that. And then, of course, I've got the 240 millimeter Montech Hyperflow Digital on top of the CPU here. I actually did a full unboxing video of that recently. Make sure you go and check it out. Honestly, this thing has been fantastic. Not only has it been cool, but the software that runs this is so minimal that it's very nice, super lightweight, doesn't take away any of the power from your computer. And honestly, it looks really, really nice for the amount of money that you have to pay for this thing. I love it on the top of this setup. Of course, then we've got this bare bones tech bench kind of case. I don't know if you can call it a case. It's more of a workbench. Basically a couple of aluminum bars kind of tied together is what everything is mounted on here. I really have started to love open air cases, and this is definitely just the next one that I wanted to try. Got it on Amazon. The last time I looked, this one in particular wasn't available anymore, but I know that you can find multiple like it if you do some searches on Amazon. I'll do my best to leave a link down below for not only that, but all of those parts. So if you are interested in any of these things, make sure you use my affiliate link down below. So overall, PC Part Picker says that this computer is worth almost $4,000 if you go and buy all of these parts. And I think that's clearly a little bit too much. The graphics card they list at $1,950. And again, I would not recommend purchasing a 4080 Super for $2,000. They're definitely going for more of the $800 to $1,000 right now. It is a Founders Edition card, so those are going for a little bit more, but $2,000 is just way overpriced again. PC Part Picker is not looking at used prices. That's just probably the cheapest that you can buy one of these new from, or from one of the retailers. Still might be a refurbished model. And honestly, this is why I typically only recommend the 5000 series GPUs, because if you're buying something new, you might as well get a 5000 series, might as well get the newest graphics cards, because the 4000 series is probably more expensive if you're buying it new, if you're buying it from a retail store right now. So again, just one of those things to think about if you are buying a new. Make sure you just buy new. You don't have to go a little bit older. They're not cheaper from the stores at the moment. So don't think about that way. If you are interested in going back a generation or two with any of this hardware, you're much better off on the used market. Let's talk really quick about the i7-14700K from Intel. Why did I go with that CPU? First off is it is much less expensive right now than a lot of the alternatives, and it's got a lot more power than a lot of those. As far as Intel goes, again, I get all of the AMD fanboys to come out when I say this, but Intel just typically wins when it comes to productivity tasks, things like streaming, things like video editing. Intel typically wins. So even if you have identical power coming from an AMD and an Intel chip, typically the Intel chip is going to perform a little bit better because that software is better optimized for an Intel chip. So that's typically why I recommend Intel. There's nothing wrong with the high-end AMD chips. I used a 9700X for a very long time, and obviously the X3D chips are amazing chips, but mostly specifically for gaming. You're not going to be getting a whole lot of extra productivity benefits from those X3D processors for the amount of money that you're paying over them. I went with the 14th generation processor again because it's a little bit cheaper. There's no future proofing with this because this is basically the best processor that I can fit in this socket without having to upgrade absolutely everything. But Intel had some issues a while back with the 13th and 14th generation processors. Now, most of those have been pretty much confirmed fixed. As long as you're using an up-to-date BIOS on your motherboard, we shouldn't be seeing any issues with what we were experiencing before. But because of that, there's a lot of people that are just not interested in the 13th and 14th generation processors, which means prices are going down. This 14700K is a powerhouse beast of a processor, and it is ultra efficient while it's doing it. For the price that you're going to pay for it, it is the best, probably the best processor that you can get. So that is why I personally went with that. As far as the 4080 Super, I think that there are a couple of reasons why I went with this. First off, I bought a used computer that had this graphics card in it, flipped it around a little bit to put a little bit. The graphics card in that used PC was definitely overpowered, so I flipped it around a little bit and put the 4080 Super in my machine. Outside of that, I think that this is probably one of the best graphics cards for my needs right now. I do run an ultra wide 1440p monitor. So anytime you're reaching into 1440p, anytime you're getting the extra pixels with the ultra wide monitor, you're going to want a very strong GPU to be able to accompany it. The 4080 Super is a fantastic graphics card. Not only does it have the power behind it, but it has that 16 gigabytes of VRAM. I've never had problems running any game that I've wanted to. I've never had to turn down settings. There are definitely some games that you would have to turn down some settings. I'm looking at you, Borderlands 4. But I've not played Borderlands yet, so I have not had to turn down settings. But some other really solid alternatives for a card like this, if you're running 1440p or wanting to get into 4K, would be the 4090 or the 4070 Ti Super, if you are wanting to get maybe a little bit lower of a price point. Otherwise, in the 5000 series, look to that 5070 Ti. Very, very comparable power. The 9070 XT is definitely also a contender for a build like this. Will definitely get you 1440p. Gaming, super high settings, super high frames in the games that you're playing, and is going to be really, really great for streaming and video editing as well. So PC Part Picker says about $4,000 for this computer. In the pre-built market, you are looking at a little bit less than that, probably in that $3,000 range. On the used market, if you were going to buy a computer with very similar specs, on the Facebook Marketplace, on Java, $2,000, somewhere between $2,000 and $2,500, typically depending on some of the auxiliary parts, things like how big the hard drive is, how much RAM it has. Is it a super fancy build? Is it using a high-end case and fans and cooler? Or is it, definitely bottom of the barrel? This was a flipped PC kind of thing. The main thing that you're getting on a PC is the graphics card and the processor, but sometimes those accessories can definitely add up as well. Who exactly is the CPU GPU combo of the i7 14700K and the 4080 Super 4? Who is that for? It's really for people like me that game, stream, and edit videos. I'm always on this thing doing something, whether it's editing videos, whether it's doing my podcast, the Side Quest Strategy, whether it is playing at games with friends, taking this to a LAN party, or editing some shorts or a long form video. This is a powerhouse that I don't have to worry about. I can game at 1440p and just never have to worry if my computer is going to be able to handle it, because it will. It's a little bit more of an expensive build because of that, but this is for the people that have that budget and are okay with that, to be able to make sure that it's just going to work. It's going to run. They don't have to worry about it. There's no optimizing settings. There's no turning this one down. This game is lagging a little bit, so we're going to turn some things down. This thing is going to run anything that you want at 1440p. So I do a lot of PC building. This has been a work in progress for a very long time. If you look back on my channel, I've built a lot of PCs, not only for myself, but for other people as well. But this has been the one that I've kind of been locking in for quite a long time now. And I get the comment a lot, especially when I talk about AMD versus anybody else, AMD versus Intel, AMD versus NVIDIA, that those AMD fanboys really come at me and say, how can you say that NVIDIA and Intel are better than AMD when you don't use them? So one of the reasons I wanted to make this video was to talk about this PC in particular. And I think eventually I'm gonna sell it. I think what I'm gonna start doing with some of these videos on this channel is I want to build a PC to be able to use it and be able to actually give you real world benchmarks and use cases and actually speak from experience on this specific CPU GPU combo. And then I'm going to sell that PC. So if anybody is interested in buying this PC, I don't have it listed anywhere yet. Just drop down in the comments if you are interested in purchasing this specific computer from me. But I think once I make a couple of videos talking specifically about this hardware, One of the next videos is probably going to be some benchmarks and use cases, actually utilizing and testing out this hardware. But then I think I'd like to sell it. And even though this might be perfect for me, I'd like to try out some different things and see if anything is even more perfect. Maybe we'll try out some AMD. Maybe we'll try out a full Intel build with an Intel Arc GPU. Let me know again down in the comments what kind of hardware you are most interested in seeing me purchase and build and use as my personal daily driver PC. And either way, we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.